right inside the front cover of this RMIT magazine, university magazine, there is a photograph of a young woman, a world-class athlete, almost blind from a rare degenerative disease. She lost her sight at the age of 17, but she became Paralympic champion, taking one of the treasured glories medals in Vancouver back in 2010. And she rates a very significant mention, for good reason, in the RMIT Alumni magazine. The caption under her photograph has words that every church in Christendom today should proclaim as highly important for every day, but especially for this time of Christmas. It says, life full of miracles. And she quotes in the story, she quotes Albert Einstein, who said you can either see life with no miracles or see life full of miracles. She said, I see life full of miracles. We could join the caption community and add two more. Life full of waiting alternatives. Life full of powerful gifts. Just two could change everything. And I'm going to focus on two of the most powerful gifts for Christmas. But before I do, let me put the whole picture in context. We have been affected this last week by some terrible events. The hostage event in Martin Place in Sydney, the Pakistani massacre of over 100 young people killed by an organised group set on killing, and the slaughter of one family, 8 children, 8 young people in northern Queensland. All too quickly, it was said that the killer in Sydney was deranged. So he might have been. In truth, we don't know. But what of the armed killers in Pakistan? Did we say they were deranged? Or the person who killed the children in Queensland? What is the story? In the Sydney case, it was said it was a random individual with a screw loose. But when we train young men and women to kill a whole town or a whole village in Syria, in Afghanistan, in Iraq or wherever, are we going to say they all have suffered from a screw loose in this destruction, in this extraordinary inhumanity to man, this terrible, meaningless destruction? Is there life full of miracles? Life full of alternatives to all that? Life full of powerful gifts? Just two will do. As you go about your concerns every day, you can be overwhelmed by the dimensions of horror and ugliness, or on that scale that I just mentioned. But just watch how we behave in the traffic this last week and the coming week, and you'll see there's no courtesy at Christmas. We're all, no, not all, surely not all, but we're inclined to be an angry, impatient people. Just look at the way we talk to each other. Kindness can be in flight from the Christmas conversation. Just look at the stacks of Christmas cards we send, pretending that we're wishing everybody a happy Christmas, and then we turn on each other. Or someone turns around and says, I'm not sending any Christmas cards this year. I'm sick of it. So our brain begins to solidify. Yes, our brain begins to solidify into a flat brain scan. If we took the brain scan, it would be something, a flat brain scan. No happy loops. Low-level activity of the brain, unless something happens. And the brain suddenly comes alive. Our brain, the brain and its graph, its scan, comes alive with excitement and positive energy. One of the astonishing miracles in our time is the computer internet world of Skype. Skype. This Christmas, families around the globe will sit in front of their screen waiting for something to happen. And all of a sudden, they will shout, "There she is! There she is!" And she will wave back. And someone will shout, "Where are you?" And she will say, I'm in, where am I? I'm in Istanbul. I can't remember. Yes, I'm in Istanbul. Arrived here last night. All of a sudden, human existence explodes with good energy. Energy in the brain, energy in the connection between people, between brain and brain. Good energy. Good energy. And what is that good energy? But you know what happens to all of us? We can lose that good energy. The New Testament passage in the epistle to the Ephesians said, we read it today, my version. It says we can only be in awe that God has poured upon us so many gifts, life gifts. And yet so quickly we squander life's gifts. A recent edition of Scientific American Mind, this magazine, was devoted to, what did it say? The future of you. Who's next? What's next in brain health? So it's talking about what is going on in our brains. And I think we need to hear a little bit about this, because you see, in all of our moods, in all of our conversations, it's your brain at work. We always knew that one word can turn you into a non-communicative, sulky, unreachable individual. But another word can bring you out of that, can bring light into your brain, new energy into your brain. And surely on Christmas we ought to think, what are we doing to our brains? How do we get new energy into our brain? Light. As the gospel of the New Testament says again and again of Jesus of Nazareth, he was a light coming into the world. And in that light, if you see it, if we get hold of light, it lights everything up in our brain. How can we get switched off in those areas of our brain which have become nasty, poisonous, toxic? How can we switch on something good? And you know, we can do this. Again and again, I see it happen. The person can be in a dreadful state, but sometimes just one word, just one person, just one experience, just one color, just one light can change it all. How can we become conscious of the fact that by stimulating an area of your brain, you can switch off your restless agitation, your negative rumination, all of that, and switch on a different section of your brain with new energy that says, there she is, where are you? What are you going to say to us? I have many times referred to Yeats poem of old age. Just a couple of weeks ago, in fact, I picked up the poem again. I have it here in his collected poems. I go back to it again because I need to be reminded of it myself, and I think other people need to be reminded. It reminds us that the discontented or low-functioning brain can suddenly tap into a different energy, good energy. And if Christmas is about anything else, surely I hope it's about being aware of a new energy being born in our midst, in ourselves, between one another. How do we get that to happen? An aged man is but a paltry thing, the poem says. A tattered coat upon a stick, unless soul claps its hand and sings, and louder sing for every tatter in its mortal dress. Yeats's poem. How do we get that to happen? Whatever our age. Oh yes, whatever our age. In the face of our griefs and our sorrows, right down to that very personal level, in the face of our civilization and its discontent, as Freud called it, in face of our interpersonal troubles and tensions between us, we want one gift. No, we don't. We want two. Today, two gifts. And the first gift comes in just one word. And the word occurs right in the middle of your Bible. It could occur in every consulting room, psychological, psychiatric consulting room, right across this country and far beyond. But we don't say it. I think we're frightened of it. One word, aching in its isolation. But it can be converted into the strongest therapeutic power of human transformation. Comfort. Comfort my people. Speak comfortably to them and say to them, there is some comfort to be found in your pain. Comfort can be just a word. It has to get into the mind, into the body, into the soul. What comfort is there for my anxious body, my chronic pain? What comfort is there for my bereaved life? What comfort is there when other helpers fail and comforts flee? Comfort comes in many forms. It comes through the soothing colour of your nighttime pillow upon which you lay your head. It comes through the restoration of energy in yourself. It happens very simply. As I was driving yesterday morning, there was some music. Vivaldi's Four Seasons. I know it well. And there was autumn being played. It's changing colours. It's racing of the wind. It's quietening of the landscape. It's energy of the future seasons. Energy restored. Mood changed. Mind steadied. Memory like a full harvest. I'm commending again and again to you to join the coracle of Mingary, because the coracle is something about people belonging to a caring community. What better to do at Christmas time? So that in this belonging to the coracle, we're carrying a good message to people. That in their traumas and their pains, there can be some comfort, even simply by looking at the sculpture of Mingary. Through it all, you see, we see the importance of a person. A person there, objective person, identifier, a person right there. Or even a person in our imagination, a person of our memory. comfort. If only we could realize it and learn it, the power of a presence is well recognized after the event, but we could do a lot to learn about it and put it in place early in the event, before the event. Following the tragedy in Martin Place, Sydney, one woman who escaped out of that place, a good friend of Katrina Dawson, who died, she said of her friend, her bravery and strength were and will continue to be a source of comfort and inspiration to me. And that leads ever so quickly and so cogently to the second powerful gift. One word: joy. I particularly asked Reese and the choir to sing that Christmas carol that we can almost pass off as a ditty, a Christmas ditty, until we stop and say, but again and again the words come through: comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Two of the great gifts of life. Joy is an open landscape rich in colour. Joy is the powerful emotion that we covet. If only we could have more of it. We want to possess it. We need to share it. We should celebrate it. Because if life loses its joy, what then? All too often, I think, we leave joy unattended, unlearned, unpracticed. Just a ditty. We stand back from it almost as if we are superior to it. And yet life depends upon it. We need to see it, we need to say it, we need to share it, we need to celebrate it. So take a moment to recognize its manifestations, lest we pass over it. In one of the major biblical teachings, joy is about finding a lost object. Do you remember the parable? The lost object. And when they found it, what was the response? In one of the major psychological teachings, joy is about adapting to the loss of a valued object. And we all have difficulty with our loss of our valued object. From the first object we ever lost, person as well as object, to our losses along the way. It's difficult to find joy in the midst of loss or after our losses. In both the biblical teaching and the psychological teaching, satisfaction and joy are found in the reinvestment of new strength in our own self, in the ego. After our many losses, we need to recover something in ourself that is almost unrecoverable because something has been lost. And yet we need to recover the self so that we can proceed. Damaged self recovered. It moves us, you see. It is the move through and beyond our tendency to get lost in our regrets and remorse, our regressions, our resentments, and our call for reparations, all that. It moves through all those R's: regret, regression, resentment, reparation. Move through them all to that other word. One word: release. To be released to express some joy. We need to be released. Joy then becomes that celebration of life full of miracles. What do we mean by that? It says, we've seen it happen often, that even in the midst of terrible tragedy, a joy can be reborn. A miracle. Life is full of miracles. Joy is found as we see and as we touch and as we smell the pleasures of life. Joy is found when we transcend the hostilities and the harshness and see and embrace a little softness. Joy becomes life full of miracles when we hear a good story. Joy becomes life full of alternatives when we implant positive emotions as an alternative to our compulsive negative emotions. Joy becomes life full of alternatives when we take the alternative, when we believe in the alternatives, when we practice the alternatives to violence, destructiveness, anger, and resentment. Joy becomes life full of good gifts, particularly if you see two of them. Two of them. Study ways for them to become sustained realities. Comfort and joy. Be sure of this. If you miss out on comfort and joy, if you don't find them, if you believe that you should have had them and you didn't get them, notice what happens to you. You become so angry or so displaced in yourself that the very things you want to have, comfort and joy, are the very things you preclude yourself from getting. So we need to take a leap over our negative states, which are so omnipresent, especially at Christmas, oddly enough. We need comfort. It may come slowly, but we need it. And everything changes as we refine the place and the people and the pathways of joy. The Bible said, the passage today, we can only be in awe that God has poured upon us so many of life's gifts. So what impedes our joy? What blocks it? What makes joy so uneasy in our makeup? Well, we know the damage of our past losses and experiences, the damage. We carry our damage too long. There are the memories that breed distrust in ourselves, in others, in the good future, in God. There are the beliefs that repair is not possible and new bridges can't be trusted. And there is the congregation of negative moods and emotions. Block, 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 block. And then there is the blocked arteries, or the psychological arteries I'm talking about. The blocked emotional arteries. Those pipelines that would otherwise flow with joy have become blocked. So we need to develop a capacity to grow in ourselves, to grow real experiences of joy. We need to develop the capacities to grow trees in the deserts of our experience. Yes, we do. We're so often killing off the trees. So let us today, on this day of all days, in this Christmas season, rise above our lesser life and consider celebrating life full of miracles, life full of waiting alternatives, life full of good and powerful gifts. Just two today. Comfort and joy. Now, no matter who you are, no matter where you sit on the various echelons of life or where you have sat, no matter what your life has been or hope to be. We all need times of comfort. And we know this. Our brain will light up when we experience times of joy. When we experience times of joy, our brains will light up. Would you please stand? Say with me, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And the blessing. Pause for the blessing. May the God you see in all the colours of creation arouse in you a sense of awe and wonder. May the God who is a sacred presence be real to you. May the God who is a source of inspiration and courage keep calling you forwards. May your God go with you and bless you today and always.